In the heart of a moonless night, a chilling mist crawled over the winding roads, and the eerie howls of distant creatures echoed through the dense forest. Mark had always considered himself an adventurous soul, but as he gripped the steering wheel of his car, his confidence wavered. He was on a journey through unfamiliar territory, a shortcut he'd heard about from a local gas station attendant, promising to shave hours off his drive. The road seemed to twist and turn without rhyme or reason, and the GPS on Mark's phone had lost signal long ago. The headlights carved out a feeble path ahead, revealing gnarled trees and overgrown bushes that seemed to reach out hungrily for the car. Mark's heart began to race as he realized he had no idea where he was. Panic gnawed at him as he desperately searched for a way to turn around and find his way back to the main road. Every direction looked the same, like a never-ending labyrinth of shadows and uncertainty. The forest seemed to close in around him, and Mark's mind played tricks on him, conjuring imaginary shapes and lurking horrors just beyond the edge of his vision. He blinked hard, trying to shake off the feeling, but a sinking dread settled in his gut. Time lost all meaning in the darkness. Hours turned into an eternity, and Mark's gas tank was inching closer to empty. The forest seemed to mock his feeble attempts at escape, its branches clawing at his car like ghostly hands. Mark's exhaustion and fear were beginning to blur together, creating a disorienting cocktail of emotions. Days turned into nights, and Mark's world shrank to the confines of his car. He rationed his remaining snacks and water, trying to conserve what little resources he had left. His phone had become a useless relic, drained of life and usefulness. His pleas for help, screamed into the void of the silent forest, went unanswered. As the weeks stretched on, Mark's appearance changed. His beard grew ragged, his eyes were bloodshot, and his clothes hung off him like a second skin. He muttered to himself, a jumble of words that made sense only to him as he tried to make sense of the unforgiving maze that held him captive. The forest had swallowed him whole, a prisoner of its ancient malevolence. One night, as Mark gazed out into the darkness, he thought he saw a faint glimmer of light in the distance. Hope surged within him, rekindling the fire of his determination. He stumbled out of the car, his legs weak from weeks of confinement, and began to stumble through the underbrush toward the distant beacon. Branches scratched at his skin, thorns dug into his flesh, and his bare feet were sliced by sharp rocks. But Mark pressed on, driven by the hope that salvation was at hand. The light grew brighter, casting an ethereal glow that illuminated his path. As he neared the source, he realized it was a clearing, a small oasis amidst the suffocating woods. In the center of the clearing stood a dilapidated cabin, its windows shattered and its walls covered in ivy. The light emanated from within, casting eerie shadows that danced on the walls. Mark's heart pounded in his chest as he approached cautiously. The door creaked open, as if beckoning him inside. Driven by a mixture of desperation and curiosity, Mark stepped across the threshold. The interior was bathed in an otherworldly glow, revealing a room frozen in time. Dust-covered furniture stood as silent witnesses to the passage of years, and there, in the center of the room, was an old, rotary phone, its receiver hanging off the hook. Mark's trembling hand reached out and picked up the receiver, his breath catching in his throat. Before he could even begin to dial, a voice whispered through the static, a voice that was both familiar and utterly alien. "Welcome," it hissed. "You've been chosen to join us in this eternal night." The realization hit Mark like a ton of bricks. He was not alone in this forest. There were others, lost souls like himself, trapped in a perpetual nightmare. The forest was their prison, and the cabin was their twisted sanctuary. Mark's hope shattered, replaced by a bone-chilling realization that he would never escape the clutches of the bushy forest. And so, Mark became one with the forest's darkness, a spectral figure haunting its twisted pathways. The howls of distant creatures were his lullaby, and the rustling leaves were his only companions. Forever lost, forever trapped, He wandered the labyrinthine forest, a cautionary tale whispered by those who dared to venture into its depths. The end